Hi everybody and big welcome to a 5-color deck tech video of Lurrus. Okay, technically not true, the real commander is Jenson, Druid Exile, but in truth he doesn't really do that much for the deck. He's basically here to give us access to all 5-color identities and that's it. Well, I'm sure he does have a really interesting synergy with Bring to Light, for example. You basically convert it into an ad nauseam. Still though, nah. But he also has a very interesting synergy with Training Grounds, reducing his activated ability by 2, basically making him into a mana dork. Because the only thing Jenson actually does is color fix and scry whenever you cast a multicolor spell. And as you can see, we don't have that many. We have Cooling Ritual, Mnemonic Betrayal, Abrupt Decay, and that's more or less it. You don't really play that much multicolor spells in cEDH. Now you do play a lot of colors, but you're sticking to monocolored cards usually. But there's one more thing Jenson actually does, and that's allowing us to play Lurrus as a companion, which is basically making Lurrus as a potential kind of commander. Not really a true commander here, because you need to pay 3 to first put it into your hand because of the companion nerf, and then you can cast it from your hand. And if it dies, it doesn't go back to the command zone. And we sadly can't use Jeweled Lotus here. So its true CMC is more like 6, which is basically making it into a 5-color Muldrotha deck. Now sure, you can pay it in parts, first 3, then 3 next turn, but still it's very expensive. But what is this deck actually trying to achieve? Well, it's a very simple answer. It's a 5-color turbo combo deck, simply. For example, we're running the Underworld Breach, Lion's Diamond and Brain Freeze combo. And obviously Thassa's Consult, which is the finisher in this deck regardless of what combo we're actually going for. And then we're also going for Hermit Druid. Now Lurrus comes with a deck construction demand that you have to play permanents with a CMC 2 or less, nothing with 3 or above. However, all of the really key cards here are on CMC 2. Underworld Breach, Thassa's Oracle and Hermit Druid all on 2. And well, Dockside Extortionist seems to as well. Now as always, deck list in the description below of the video. This deck has been built by Pontus. Now if you wanna see this deck in action, me and Pontus up there have actually recorded a cEDH gameplay that we uploaded. It's on a different channel called cEDH TV Gameplay. But we kinda liked what Jenson was able to produce from that match. But this is just a typical good stuff cEDH deck as you usually expect them to be. Turbo fast win cons, the typical combos, and it's just going for the throat. And the 2 commanders are honestly a bit irrelevant. So you might ask, why not just play Kenrith? Why play Lurrus and Jenson? Because the deck is just good on its own, it doesn't really need commanders, so we could just have a better commander? So there is some truth to that. You see, Kenrith is an extremely strong late game mid-range commander. You can basically have this deck, a turbo combo fast typical cEDH deck that is going for the win as it should all of the time, but then just have Kenrith as a mid-range commander when you get into those stacks games when you need a commander that can just draw cards for you. And with Kenrith as the commander, we don't need to care about the deck restriction demand from Lurrus every permanent on a CMC 2 or less. And with Kenrith it opens up more possible combos because you can win from infinite mana. Lurrus can't, or well, Lurrus can kinda, but there are some strange tricks and loops that makes Lurrus win from infinite mana, but in the end it doesn't really win from infinite mana the same way Kenrith does. However, Lurrus and Jenson actually has a few cool tricks going for it. The first one is its rebuild capabilities, especially Underworld Breach. Kenrith can't bring back this enchantment, Lurrus can. The other thing is that it really helps out with the main strategy of Hermit Druid. With Hermit Druid you win by only activating it 1 for 1 green mana, putting your entire deck into your grave, flashback at red turn by sacrificing 3 creatures, and reanimate Thassa's Oracle with an empty library, and boom, you win. If you can't do this because of, for example, counterspells or other interactions, then you can with Lurrus just pay 2 blue mana and cast Thassa's Oracle from the graveyard. From playtesting we experienced that this deck was basically trying to win every single turn once it started to attempt its win. Its rebuild capabilities of trying to go for the combo again and again and again is actually really good. Now, Kendrick can also kinda do this, but not in the same efficient way. He has to pay like 5 mana to do it. And the problem of only playing 2 CMC permanents isn't that big of a deal, honestly. The cards we more or less miss from that is Heuristic Studies, that's CMC free. Notion Thief is definitely a big candidate, that's a card you could throw into various decks. It's not auto-include and it's not that heavily played, but definitely a candidate, but not for this deck. We can't play Necropotence, but similar to Notion Thief, it's not always auto-included. It's a candidate for sure, but you don't need it. Professional Facebreaker on the other hand, that's a card I really think this deck wanna have. Op Agent, great card, can't have it inside this deck sadly. We can't have Ranger Captain of Eos inside the deck, that's really sad. There are a few more here and there, but those are kind of the big ones. Still though, losing those cards isn't that big of a deal, because we have so many great cards on CMC2 that is still giving us a really powerful deck overall. And with a really low CMC, this deck's ad nauseum becomes really strong. We can still play cards like Ragavan, Phantasmal Image, an amazing card, Gilded Drake, one of my favorite cards inside cEDH. Sylvan Library, a CMC2 card draw engine. Dark Confidant, another CMC2 card draw engine. Esper Sentinel, now we're down to CMC 1. Malevolent Hermit, actually really great with Hermit strategies. Because after using Hermit Druid to put your entire deck into your grave, you can disturb this Malevolent Geist into play to give you more protection when you're trying to win with your Dread Return combo. However, a lot of the cards that we've been looking at right now on CMC2 and Let's aren't actually inside Pontus deck. As you can see among creatures, there is no Gilded Drake, there is a Phantasmal Image, but there's no Dark Confidant, and in enchantments he doesn't play Sylvan Library either. What's up with this guy? You see, my friend Pontus here have actually built this deck with the intent of maximizing turbo speed. However, that also means that this deck can be built in different variations of ways depending on what you need against your specific metagame. You could swap out some of these turbo combo cards for more card draw value, because you have to understand this. Your commanders Jenson and Lurrus, they don't grind value that well. They are quite bad in a longer game actually. So if you need more card draw value engines because your metagames are stackier, longer, contain more interaction and counter spells and etc., then you could swap out some of these things for card draw engine, Sylvan Library and Dark Confidant, for example, and more. But you do need to have a form of critical mass of creatures, because Dread Return actually demands that you have 3 creatures to sacrifice. However, this is where Jenson is helping out a tiny bit, because your commander is a CMC 2 creature that you could just cast to increase the creature ratio. And we do play Narcomoeba just to help out with that specifically, because when you activate Hermit Druid, this will come into play. There is another very popular creature called Fate Stitcher that you use with Hermit Druid, because for only 1 blue mana you get that Fate Stitcher into play, and then you have your Hermit Druid, Narcomoeba and Fate Stitcher, 3 creatures to sacrifice to Dread Return. Problem here is that we can't actually play this because this is a CMC 4 and that's too high for the Lurrus condition. Now there is another worthy mention that is actually not inside Pontus deck, and that is Priest of Fellright. The cool thing about this one is that it has a nerf 5, which is very expensive, but you can bring it into play. Then with haste, it gains haste when you play it with a nerf. You tap it, you pay 3 life, and you sacrifice this creature, and you turn a creature from your graveyard directly into play, which means that you can reanimate Thassa's Oracle without casting a spell. This is activating an ability, so you're going past all forms of counter spells here. Another key card here is Post-Mortal Lung, and the other versions to this. What this actually does is reanimate Hermit Druid with haste. So what's usually happening is that you put your Hermit Druid into play and you pass turn and it dies because removal, so your Hermit Druid is in your graveyard and people don't really care about you that much anymore. But then you have this spell to return Hermit Druid into play with haste and win out of nowhere. Shallow Grave doing the exact same thing, another card we have inside this deck. You see, a big problem with Hermit Druid is that it's drawing attention towards it. You put this into play, everyone knows you're gonna win, it's extremely telegraphed and you're gonna be interacted with, and you're leaving other players alone to win the match basically, and that's very sad. However, once Hermit Druid has been dealt with, you're usually left alone, so this is a great trick you more or less have to utilize if you're on this strategy. Another cool card I really like to showcase just to prove this deck's rebuild capabilities is Memory's Journey. Flashback, 1 green mana only, and you shuffle in a few up to 3 cards from your grave into your library. If you only choose one, you're basically going to draw that in your next turn. So you go for your combo, you fizzle, and then you can rebuild again. And, well, also prevent yourself from dying, that's kinda important. That's all I had to say about this cool deck. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found it entertaining and a little bit inspiring as well. In any case, guys, take care, and I'll see you next time.